Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive #1, #2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, it's pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hello, my friends. This is Andy over at Today's CBD and Wellness. Glad to be here with you on episode 4 of my brand new podcast. And excuse me, I don't even know where that came from. Excuse me, so sorry. And today we're going to be talking about sleep, and more sleep. One thing I've come to enjoy is the fact that since I started taking CBD about a year and a couple months ago at the time of this recording, my sleep has improved immensely. And I may be like some of you, or at least I used to feel this way. I used to feel that I didn't need a lot of sleep. That, I used to tell people all the time, I will sleep when I die. And because I had become so used to sleeping 2 to 3 hours a night, I thought that's all my body needed. I thought that was good until I began to get some sleep. And now I realize how much better my life is, how much more clear-headed I am. Perhaps there's some diseases I'm avoiding, and hopefully I'm now starting to put off. And it's a good thing I began to do this. And it gives me answers of why maybe I had prostate cancer and why I was also pre-diabetic, because I'm going to give you some of the stats and some of the information that I learned from a couple sources, and I'll give you those sources in a few minutes. But first, of course, we always have to talk about our sponsors, and I have 3. One of them is, well, it's 2 really, but there's 3 different websites you need to be aware of. And one of them is Today's CBD oil. I'm so sorry. CBD oil. And that is where you're going to go when you want to buy CBD oil, because that is Vaseo's CBD1, which is the product that I promote and love more than anything on this planet. I think it's the best CBD product on the planet, both the cream and the oil. And you need to go to todayscbdoil.com. That'll take you to a landing page where you can learn a little bit more information about CBD and the products that are offered by Vaseo. And then when you're ready to order, click on the blue button that says, I want CBD now. I think it says something like that. You won't miss it. It's a blue button. You just click on it. It's at the top and it's at the bottom. And you can click on that button once you want to start to order, or once you want to order. And then if you want some of the other Vaseo products, I'm going to be talking about Sleep probably. Sleep is the name of one of our other products at Vaseo, which shockingly helps you sleep. It is fantastic. It is a great product. I love it. I'm out right now, but it really hasn't changed that much. It increases my sleep by about an hour to 2 hours, somewhere in there. But I sleep right now a pretty good 7 to 8 hours as it is right now, just on CBD oil. But if you have trouble even with your CBD oil and you want more sleep, or you don't want to take CBD oil for God knows what reason why you don't. I don't know. There is no reason not to take it. But if you decide you did want to take it, then I would definitely get some sleep. Get some sleep. I get some sleep with sleep, and it will do you some good. There's a bunch of other products there, also Core Complete and other stuff. But you're going to want to go to todaysvaseo.com to order those products. Unfortunately, Vaseo has to have 2 different websites because of some regulations that is going on with the fact that CBD is associated with cannabis, and there's some issues that need to be tackled by having a second website. And then one other sponsor is strategicmarketingtoday.com. That is training that I put you through to do all kinds of things in regard to social media marketing your business, Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, YouTube Lives, how to do them, the resources for doing them, the ability to put on lower thirds and graphics, and then graphic posts, how to create positive content, purpose-driven content. I teach you about how to do that, a whole bunch of other stuff. So go to strategicmarketingtoday.com. It's only $9.99 a month. It's a great way to show your support for my podcast and the Facebook Lives that I do. I am standing right now at my what I call my teaching desk. The reason is because I'm going to be using a PowerPoint presentation. Of course, those of you that are listening to this on the podcast, you cannot see the slides. I'm going to make those available. Just look for them in the description. Of the wherever you're watching the podcast, there should be a URL for doing that. If you don't see it, then go ahead and contact me through Facebook Messenger and say, you know what, those slides you said that you had regarding the sleep podcast, I'm not seeing the URL anywhere, and I will provide it for you. All right. So with that said, let's get into our discussion about sleep and how important sleep is. It essentially is one of the most important things you can do besides eating and drinking water. It's like those three things are essential. Drinking water, eating well, and getting some sleep are probably the three things that will keep you alive and keep you cognitively clear-headed. And the benefits from sleep are going to be immense. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that little presentation here. And one of the resources you can go to is Why We Sleep. That's a book. It's a New York Times bestseller, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, PhD. And I read this book. I've heard him speak. I think he was interviewed on another podcast, probably Rogan's podcast. I can't remember for sure. But I know when I listened to it, I got to get this guy's book. Got to learn more about sleep because I wasn't sleeping enough to begin with. And like I said, I was of the mindset that I didn't need a lot of sleep and was pretty convinced of that. But one thing that I learned from Mr. Walker is the shorter your sleep, the shorter your life. Now, as you may or may not know, I have 5 children. 4 of them are very young at the time, again, of this recording. They're 5, 8, 11, and 13. And then I have a 25-year-old. And I want to be around. I don't need my life shortened. I want to be around to see them succeed. I want to see what kind of jobs they get. I want to know who they marry and, what it is they're going to do with the rest of their life. I need my life. And so I read this in the book, and I think he even mentioned it on the interview that I was watching him on. And when I heard the shorter your sleep, the shorter your life, I said, okay, that's it. This is coming from a PhD, an expert in sleep. I have to start paying attention. Humans need 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day. This is supported by about 50 years of scientific research. Again, one of my sources of information at probably 70% of what you're seeing now, or what I'm going to tell you about, is from Matthew Walker. I was almost called him something else for some reason. Matthew Walker's information. But again, I've done some other research to find out that, this has been a study that's been going on for a long time in many universities. And everybody agrees. I mean, nobody's going to argue with the fact that humans need 7 to 8 hours a day. Now, you might, if you're one of those people that only get 5 and think that's all you need, I'm here to tell you that even you, the person who thinks that you're getting enough, needs more sleep. 7 to 8 hours of sleep a human needs. There is cognitive impairment with only 5 hours sleep. So essentially what some of the studies say is that you can essentially act drunk or be, if it had an alcohol percentage based on lack of sleep, you would be arrested for being under the influence. If you're only getting 5 hours of sleep on a regular basis, that means that your cognitive impairment is so much that you are not making decisions at the best of your ability and in a timely manner. And so that impairment just comes with a lack of sleep. 2 hours less sleep than you should be getting, and you're cognitively impaired. Wakefulness is low level brain damage. Every time we're awake, every second we're awake, we're causing brain damage. Apparently, I've been awake for a very long time, but that's really not that funny. But wakefulness is a low level brain damage. When we're awake, it is not great for us. Sleep is what offers a reparatory function. And that means that when our body sleeps, our brain gets repaired and the brain damage is, much of it is healed. Now, if we are awake far too much and our sleep is not enough, we'll never catch up with the brain damage that's being caused because we're not getting enough sleep to repair all the brain damage being caused by us being awake. And so the sleep is important for the repairing of our body. It's much easier to say that than the reparatory. I don't know why that's hard for me to say, but it is. All right. Because of that, risk for Alzheimer's disease is increased when you have lack of sleep, because I believe what I've been reading is that Alzheimer's comes quite often at a faster clip when we have more brain damage, like concussions. Use of drugs and alcohol will increase the likelihood of us getting Alzheimer's as we get older. So you need sleep for optimal performance, cognitive performance, emotional stability, and physical stamina. So if you're doing anything in regard to physical, like you're working out, maybe you like to run marathons, maybe you like to participate on, playing racquetball with your buddies or something like that. Does anybody play racquetball anymore? I don't even know where I used to play racquetball a lot, but I don't see it being played very much. But anyway, it just came to mind. But if you're doing anything physical, maybe keeping up with the kids, right? You are not doing yourself any service by not being conscious of the need to be sleeping 7 to 8 hours a day. And so that physical stamina that you need to keep up with the kids, that physical stamina you need to keep up with the opponent, whoever you're playing, if that's important to you, is not to its highest peak if you're not getting enough sleep. Emotional stability, if you're having a tough time at work, if you're having a tough time with a spouse, if you're in divorce court or doing something that causes you a lot of emotional stress, the sleep that you can get, or that you should be getting, is the thing that you're going to need to help you with that emotional stability so you don't lose it. Since I've been taking CBD oil and sleeping so much, I have been going through a divorce. That's why it kind of came up in what I was just talking about. And I find myself much better able to handle the stresses of divorce and in the courtroom and writing up the documents that I need to prepare for certain hearings that I may be in. And I found that because of my sleep, I believe that I've been way more effective than I possibly could have been if I didn't get enough sleep. And then all the other things that we talked about, the cognitive performance and optimum performance. So one thing that we know from these studies is that, and why we know that it's true, and I know this to be true because I was one of those people that worked a third shift. In other words, I worked graveyards. And graveyards, of course, are when you're working from so we worked 12.5-hour shifts. So we would start work at about 5:30, and then I would get off at 5:30 in the evening, get off at 6 o'clock in the morning the following day, something like that. I'm pretty sure that's what the hours. It's been a while, but so I can't remember exactly. But that's that's that third shift that you end up having to work. And so what they found in studies for people that worked a third shift, there was an increased incidence of obesity, increased diabetes. I told you that I was pre-diabetic before I started taking CBD oil. Increased cancer of the bowel, prostate, and breast. I had prostate cancer, and possibly still do. I think that it's minimal because of some things I've been doing. But the last MRI I took, it said that it didn't see any prostate cancer. But I don't have a biopsy to make sure that is true. I haven't had one lately, but I will coming up, and I'll let you know for sure. The World Health Organization has determined that shift work as a probable carcinogen. A probable carcinogen. Just the fact that you work a third shift is a carcinogen to your body. Now that's saying something. All right. A test was conducted where a group of people were given just 4 hours of sleep for one night only. There was a 70% reduction in critical anti-cancer fighting immune cells called natural kill cells. So just by losing some sleep, I guess if it's 4 hours, if you're losing 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours of sleep, by losing 3 to 4 hours of sleep, a 70% reduction in critical anti-cancer fighting immune cells. Now, most of my life, adult life, for 21 years of my adult life, I was a police officer, and much of that time was on shift work. And then much of that time I was, as a detective, I also would go to bed at 11 o'clock at night and wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym, and then go to the office. And so I had this really bad habit of only sleeping 3 hours, maybe a night, sometimes 5 hours at the most. That was a good night's sleep, was 5 hours. And all those years, I was reducing my critical anti-cancer fighting immune cells, and thereby got cancer. And so thankfully it's not as bad as other people have gotten it. I'm so thankful to God and CBD oil and my wellness plan that I'm not worse off, and knock on wood, if I could find some right now. I don't have any because I'm standing at my stand-up desk that's made of metal, but I'll find some wood and I'll knock on it somewhere. I wish I would have known. I wish I would have not bought my own BS thinking that I could only sleep 2 to 3 hours a night and thought it was okay, and told everybody that would listen that it was okay. So there you go. Just losing 4 hours of sleep a night, there's a reduction of 70% reduction in critical anti-cancer fighting immune cells. So sleep and learning. This is another thing that I could have used in high school and college. And that is, you need sleep after learning to essentially hit the save button so you don't forget. Sleeping is like hitting the save button in your memory so that you don't forget what you learned throughout the day. So if you're learning something, sleep is an important part of that learning process, so that that information that you're taking in, either through books or lecture or writing them out, that sleep is going to help you hit the save button to keep it in your brain. It future-proofs those facts within the brain. You also need to sleep before learning to prepare your brain. So sleeping prior to your day of learning. So if you're just starting a new job, I would suggest that you get a good night's sleep so that you can zoom through the training process and get busy doing your job without having somebody to, look over your shoulder. Without sleep, your brain becomes waterlogged. It just has, it's just stuff stuck in your brain and not doing anything because it hasn't been filed away properly. You didn't hit the save button. It's just kind of lingering on the outskirts of your drive, right? Of the drive of your brain, and is really not there and not available for you to recall. And so your brain becomes waterlogged. Now, people ask about napping, and every so often I'll take a nap because it just feels good, and I think, well, I'll just nap, and maybe that will save my brain. But here, the good doctor says napping can have benefits, but they won't make up for good, sound nighttime sleep. Naps don't self-medicate or make up wholly for lack of sleep. This is a quote I took off the podcast when he was asked that same question. So let me just repeat it, and I'll try to read it a little bit better. Napping can have benefits, but they won't make up for good, sound nighttime sleep. Naps don't self-medicate or make up wholly for lack of sleep. All right. Daytime savings time. Here's another one that gets many of us. I'm in California, so we have daylight savings time, and it affects 1.6 billion people, daylight savings time. Spring, when we lose an hour, there is a 24% increase in heart attacks. I did not know that until I read this. In the spring, when we lose an hour, there is a 24% increase in heart attacks. In the fall, when we gain an hour, there is a 21% decrease in heart attacks. Where does that 3% go? What happens to that 3%? All right, so we're going backwards. All right, so there you go. Daylight savings time. You can see the stats on that. Drowsy driving causes more traffic accidents than DUI driving. All right, so keep that in mind. Make sure if you're going to go on a long trip that you're getting sleep and that you stop and get some sleep, whether that is, finding a nice dark place to go and park your car and get some sleep, or, of course, getting a hotel or a motel and making sure you get enough sleep. It's just like driving under the influence of a narcotic or alcohol. Men only sleep. Oh, this is the one that kills me. So men, wow. Men who only sleep 5 hours a night have smaller testicles than men who sleep 8 hours a night. This is what the doctor says. And, who's to deny this information? But I think this alone was the thing that, I'm not sure if, you really want large testicles, but maybe for sure you don't want small ones, because when you see a dog walking around with small testicles, everybody makes fun of them. So I guess there is something to be said, but I'm pretty sure that that's important. Now, the thing is, women, it is the same. Well, not in regard to the testicles, but in regard to the reproductive system. It does affect your reproductive system based on the studies done by Dr. Walker. All right. Lack of sleep ages you by a decade. Oh, I didn't want to hear this. So my lack of sleep aged me by a decade. You imagine I know I look young now, but imagine how young I would look if I actually got sleep throughout my life. But lack of sleep ages you by a decade. And I'm sure with me, it's all physical, right? Insufficient sleep will change your DNA. Wow. That is crazy. Insufficient sleep will change your DNA. You have to train yourself to sleep. And this is important. So I had to do this. And this isn't in the book, but at least I didn't read it in the book. But you have to physically train yourself to sleep. And you have to do some things to train yourself to sleep. And I had to do that. It wasn't easy. It was like when I stopped drinking coffee. I just cold turkey stopped drinking coffee. And it was painful for about 2 weeks. I was like a heroin addict trying to get off of heroin. I had headaches. I was crabby. I was angry. I felt nauseous all the time. Not all the time, but at least for the week and a half or 2 weeks that I was going through the withdrawals. But it's hard, right? If you're used to just doing things the old-fashioned way, not old-fashioned way, the old way of just I'm going to go to bed now, and you watch TV until it's time to go to bed, or you do all this kind of stuff, you're not going to be successful. So you have to physically and mentally train yourself to sleep. Here are some things to help you train for sleep. So, number one, don't have caffeine after 4 p.m. I stopped doing that. That was really important for me because I think that was one of my issues why I didn't sleep, because I was drinking caffeine throughout the day, especially back in the day when I was drinking jumbo Javas and, coffee in the afternoon and at dinner. And just, there used to be a time when I drank sodas also back in the 1990s. I had to cut it all out. I cut out all caffeine, all the sodas, all the coffee, and all the iced teas I was drinking. Excuse me. I cut all of them out and had to make sure and keep myself safe and sane because I was going crazy for that period of time that I didn't have any caffeine. It was horrible, but I did. So don't have caffeine after 4 o'clock. Really important. An hour before bed, turn off all screens. 1 hour prior to going to bed, make sure and turn off all your screens, your phone, your television, your tablet, and stop looking at them. And the suggestion is that quite possibly after turning those off, that hour after turning everything off, is that you can read a book, right? I'm not sure if reading a Kindle would be okay. Sorry, I'm trying to click off so there's not a square. There you go. So read or go for a walk. Read or go for a walk. Get out a book, get out the Bible, get out something. Read for about an hour to allow your mind to get away from the light that you were absorbing through the screens that you were looking at, and then go for a walk. Walk at night is perfect because you're going to be in the darkness. Your body's going to know, it already knows that it's nighttime, but now it's being confirmed by the darkness that you're walking through. And so really, really good for you to read or go for a walk an hour before bed. You can also stretch or meditate in low lighting, as suggested by Brendan Burchard on one of the things that I was listening to from him, a podcast that I was listening to, in that stretching or meditating for that hour also is very good. Don't get physical necessarily. Don't do a bunch of exercise because you're going to get your heart rate up, but do some stretching and some meditation that will begin to relax your body and get it ready for bed. But do that for about an hour before you go to bed. Another thing is drop the temperature down to 6 to 8 degrees. I do that. It's pretty cold when I go to bed. I bring those covers up around my neck, and I just the having that cold air and sometimes slipping out the foot or so and getting a little and then bringing it back in. It is a great way to go. So 6 to 8 degrees. I have solar panels now, so now I have no problem with running the air conditioning in the summer and getting that down to 6 to 8 degrees. But that has been a very helpful thing for me, is bringing that temperature down. Black out all the lights, and the suggestion is that you have all these little LED lights that are connected. So in my room, I have another computer and I have a printer, which had an LED light that blinks. And then the other electronics, that when they're plugged in, they have this light. And so when you turn off the lights, you can actually still have a lot of light beaming in your room based on all the electronics that are there. And the suggestion is you put like a black tape over the lights and make sure and black out as much of that. Make sure your curtains are up and your blinds are up, and blacken out that room as much as possible to bring it into total darkness. Train your body to stay in bed for 7 to 8 hours. One of the things that I had to do was stay in bed. I would be awake. I'd be asleep for 3 hours, and then I'd open my eyes. I'd get up and do something. I'd walk around. I'd go to the gym. I didn't like being in bed. So I had to train myself to stay in bed if it wasn't a full 7 to 8 hours. And sometimes I would fall back asleep and get the rest. And then pretty soon my body would stop waking up, and then I would sleep for that whole 7 to 8 hours. So you have to train your body because it's not used to laying there in bed for that long, right? If you're like me for 20, 30 years, maybe longer, 40 years, I was sleeping 3 to 5 hours a night and getting up and going somewhere. And so it was like an automatic. I didn't stay in bed like some people. I've had, girlfriends or ex-wives who would, bed was everything to them. And they would just stay in bed. I go, how do you do that? I would have to get up and move. So I had to train myself to stay in bed a little bit longer and set that into motion so that my body would essentially be used to just staying in bed 7 to 8 hours, and change that habit of getting up. And then don't drink too much water before bed. Make sure you drink your water during the day and in the early afternoon, and then don't, drink this a whole cup of water right before you go to bed. Again, if you can make sure and drink the water before that, you won't be so dehydrated when you wake up. The thinking is that if you drink a bunch of water before you go to bed, you're going to have to get up and go pee, right? And so that need to go pee is what wakes some people up. They can't get back to sleep, and now they're awake and forget about it. That's it. So that's all they needed to do. So those are the tips for getting back to sleep, understanding that sleep is so stinking important that you just need to find a way. You need to train your body to do it. If you're only sleeping, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours a night, like I was, based on the research, it's bad for you. You're killing yourself, and you're going to knock off a decade, if not more, off of your lifespan because of lack of sleep. So with that good news, so just make sure and get some sleep. All right. Just make sure and get that sleep. That'll be really important. I got a new book coming out on June 26th. If you're watching this, I've just made my headed book. There we go. If you are watching this before June 26th, 2019. Wow, I just had a stroke. So if you are not, if you're watching this before June 26, 2019, make sure and be aware that on that date I'll be launching my book, and you're gonna want to take a look at that and get it for only 99 cents in the pre-launch. That means that it's not written completely yet, so it's not up yet. But the pre-purchase allows you to get it for 99 cents. And that way, when it goes out live on Kindle, you just automatically get it. You won't have to pay the $14.99 that it will be priced at when it goes live. All right. So you'll get it for 99 cents, and you'll be helping me taking it to bestseller status. All right. So one last time, go to todayscbdo.com if you want CBD oil. Go to todaysvaseo.com if you want to get more products like sleep and neuro and some of the other stuff that's in there that's fantastic for you, great for your wellness. And then strategicmarketingtoday.com if you want to know how to do Facebook Lives and do other stuff like I do on social media. All right, that is it for me on this episode 4 of the CBD and Wellness podcast on sleep. You need it. Get some sleep. All right, that is it for me. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.
It's Sizzling Sprint Weekend. For a limited time, you can pick up an iPad on us when you lease a new iPhone. That's right, get a free iPad when you lease a new iPhone at Sprint. It's an unrivaled pair. Get both and save big when you switch to Sprint. Stop by your local Sprint store during Sizzling Sprint Weekend, July 19th, 20th, and 21st to learn more. iPad 6 Gen 32 gigabytes, $0 per month after 1917 monthly credit for 24 months. Credit applied within 2 bills. Requires new line and qualifying plan. If you cancel early, remaining balance due, tax due at sale.